The rifle felt cold in my hands. Heavier than usual. I'd held this weapon 1,000 times, cleaned it, loaded it, fired it at targets and at men. But that night, in the dim light of the safe house, with my finger resting on the trigger guard and a man kneeling in front of me, everything felt different. His name was David. Christian aid worker. We'd captured him 3 days earlier, crossing the border with medical supplies. My commander wanted information. I was supposed to extract it. By any means necessary. That's what soldiers do. That's what I did. I pressed the barrel against his temple. He was praying. Whispering something in a language I didn't fully understand, but I caught one word, Jesus. My finger moved to the trigger. And then I heard it. Not out loud. Not like a voice in the room. But inside me. Clear as a command from my CO, clearer, actually. Do you trust me? I froze. My hands started shaking, the first time in 7 years of military service that my hands had ever shaken. David opened his eyes. Looked right at me. And he wasn't afraid. How do you look at death and not flinch? I'd seen hardened soldiers break with less. But this man, this soft-handed aid worker who'd probably never fired a weapon in his life, had more courage in his eyes than anyone in my unit. If you pull that trigger, he said quietly, you'll lose more than my life. You'll lose your soul. I didn't pull the trigger that night. I don't know why. I told my commander the prisoner escaped. I took the punishment, 3 days in the heat without rations, demotion, the shame of failure in front of my brothers. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't kill him. And that terrified me more than any firefight I'd ever been in. Because warriors don't hesitate. Warriors don't question orders. Warriors don't let mercy make them weak. Let me take you back. Back before that night. Back to when I knew exactly who I was and what I was made for. My name doesn't matter now. What matters is what I was, a soldier. Not the kind you see in dress uniforms at ceremonies. The kind you don't see. The kind who operates in the shadows, in the places that don't exist on maps, doing the things that keep politicians' hands clean. I was trained in the mountains of Central Asia when I was 17. My father was military. His father was military. In our family, you didn't ask what you wanted to be. You knew. You were born with gunpowder in your blood and honor in your bones. The day I left for training, my father gripped my shoulder, the only affection he ever showed, and said, "Make me proud. Be strong. Never break." I never did. Break, I mean. Basic training was hell. They designed it that way. 48 guys started. 19 finished. I was top of my class. I could field strip an AK-47 in 43 seconds blindfolded. I could go 3 days without sleep on a mission. I could take a hit and stay standing. Pain was just information. Fear was just chemicals. Weakness was just a choice I refused to make. By 22, I'd done 3 tours. Classified operations. The kind where you don't get medals because officially, you were never there. The smell of diesel fuel and gun oil became home. The sound of helicopter rotors became my lullaby. My unit, 12 men who'd bled together, fought together, nearly died together, became my brothers. Closer than blood. Because blood is just genetics. But when a man pulls you out of an ambush with bullets tearing up the ground around you, when he takes a hit meant for you, when he shares his last canteen in 110-degree heat, that's family. We had a saying, God may judge us, but our enemies will meet him first. I believed that. I lived that. The barracks smelled like sweat and tobacco and the cheap cologne guys wore when we got rare leave time. Metal bunks. Concrete floors. Pictures of girls we'd left behind or never had taped to the walls. At night, you'd hear men breathing, some snoring, some whispering prayers to Allah, some just staring at the ceiling processing what they'd done that day. I didn't pray much. Didn't see the point. God felt distant. Irrelevant. Like something for old men and scared children. I had my rifle. My brothers. My mission. That was my religion. Until it wasn't. The crack appeared small at first. So small I almost didn't notice. It was after a raid gone wrong. We'd hit a compound, bad intel, wrong location. Supposed to be insurgents. Turned out to be a family. By the time we realized it, the damage was done. I didn't pull those triggers. But I was there. I heard the screams. Saw the bodies. A little girl, maybe 6, clutching a doll with her eyes still open. I carried that image back to base. Tried to drown it in alcohol. Tried to bury it in the next mission. But it wouldn't leave. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I'd been trained to never feel: doubt. Was this strength? Was this honor? My commander noticed. Commander Rashid. 47 years old. Face like carved stone. 23 years of combat. Decorated. Feared. Respected. When he walked into a room, conversation stopped. When he gave an order, you didn't question it. You executed. He pulled me aside one night. Lit a cigarette. Offered me one. I took it. You're distracted, he said. Statement, not question. No, sir. Don't lie to me. I've known you since you were a recruit. Something's broken in you. I can see it. I didn't answer. He blew smoke toward the ceiling. This life isn't for men with soft hearts. You go soft, you die. Worse, you get your brothers killed. So whatever's in your head, soldier, you cut it out. You remember who you are. You're a warrior. Act like it. Yes, sir. But I couldn't cut it out. It grew. That doubt. That crack in my armor. And then I met David. That Christian aid worker who looked at death without flinching. Who prayed for me even as I held a gun to his head. Who said I'd lose my soul. I thought I knew what strength was. I thought I'd been trained by the best, hardened by the worst, proven in fire. I was wrong. I was about to learn that real strength looks nothing like what I'd been taught. That real courage isn't about how much pain you can inflict or endure. That being a true warrior means fighting battles I didn't even know existed. But first, I had to lose everything. Commander Rashid found the Bible 3 weeks after I released David. I'd been careful. Hidden it in the lining of my tactical vest, wrapped in plastic, tucked where inspections wouldn't reach. David had given it to me before he disappeared into the night. I told him to run, pointed him toward the border, gave him a 15-minute head start before I fired shots into the air and raised the alarm. You'll need this, he'd said, pressing the small book into my hands. More than you need that rifle. I should have burned it. Should have thrown it in the river. Should have done anything except what I actually did, which was read it. Every night. By flashlight. In the latrine where no one would see. Starting with the book he'd marked, the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I didn't understand most of it at first. The language was strange. Poetic. Nothing like the harsh, direct commands of military life. But something in it grabbed me. Pulled me. Like a frequency I didn't know I could hear. Then came the Sermon on the Mount. And this line stopped me cold. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Love your enemies? I'd been trained to eliminate them. Efficiently. Without hesitation. Without mercy. The idea of loving them felt impossible. Weak. Stupid. But I couldn't stop reading. I got sloppy. Tired. We'd been on back-to-back missions for 2 weeks, hard insertions, minimal sleep, maximum stress. I came back to the barracks one afternoon, exhausted, and collapsed on my bunk. Fell asleep still wearing my vest. I woke up to Commander Rashid standing over me. He was holding the Bible. The entire barracks had gone silent. 12 men, my brothers, all watching. Some confused. Some curious. A few with recognition dawning in their eyes, recognition of what this meant. What I'd done. What I'd become. Murtad. Apostate. Rashid didn't yell. He never yelled. Men who yell have lost control, and Rashid never lost control. He held the Bible up between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. Like it might infect him just by touching it. "Soldier," he said, his voice calm, cold, surgical. "Explain this." My mouth went dry. Every instinct I'd been trained with screamed at me to lie. Deny. Deflect. Say I'd taken it off a dead enemy. Say I was studying the opposition. Say anything except the truth. But something had changed in me. That crack in my armor had widened. And words came out of my mouth that I hadn't planned. "It's mine, sir." The silence deepened. You could hear breathing. The distant hum of generators. A fly buzzing near the window. Rashid's jaw tightened. Just barely. The only sign of emotion. "Yours," he repeated. "You're reading the book of the Nazarene. The book of our enemies. The book of weakness and surrender." He stepped closer. I could smell the tobacco on his breath. "Have you converted? Have you become Christian?" The word came out like a curse. Like something obscene. I should have said no. Should have backed down. Saved myself. I'd seen what happened to apostates. In our region, in our military, in our culture, leaving Islam for Christianity wasn't just betrayal. It was treason. Social death. Sometimes literal death. But I looked at that Bible in his hand. Thought about the words I'd read. Thought about David's eyes, that impossible courage. Thought about the voice I'd heard, "Do you trust me?" "I'm seeking," I said carefully. "I'm asking questions." Wrong answer. Rashid's hand moved faster than I expected. The Bible hit the concrete floor. Then his boot came down on it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Grinding it into the dust. "You want to seek," he said quietly. "Let me help you find answers." He turned to the unit. "Kareem. Yusuf. Take him to the interrogation room." 2 of my brothers, men I'd fought beside, bled beside, trusted with my life, stepped forward. Kareem wouldn't meet my eyes. Yusuf looked sick but followed orders. They always followed orders. That's what we were trained to do. They grabbed my arms. Pulled me to my feet. Marched me out of the barracks while 12 men watched in silence. The interrogation room was where we took high-value targets. Concrete walls. Steel table bolted to the floor. 1 chair. 1 light. No windows. Soundproofed. I'd been in this room before. On the other side. Asking the questions. Applying the pressure. Getting results. Now I was the target. They cuffed my hands behind the chair. Rashid dismissed Kareem and Yusuf. The door closed with a heavy metallic sound that echoed finality. Rashid walked slow circles around me. Predator assessing prey. "I trained you," he said. "Personally selected you. Invested 7 years in making you the best soldier in this unit. You have more confirmed kills than men twice your age. You've never failed a mission. Never questioned an order. Never shown weakness." He stopped in front of me. "Until now." "Sir. You don't speak. You listen." His hand shot out, gripped my jaw, forced my head up. Do you know what Christianity is? His voice was steel wrapped in ice. It's the religion of colonizers, of crusaders who slaughtered our ancestors, of missionaries who come with food in one hand and a cross in the other, trying to destroy our identity, our culture, our faith. It's a disease, an infection, and I will not allow it in my unit. He released my jaw, stepped back, pulled his sidearm from his holster. A Makarov pistol. I'd seen him use it, seen him clean it, seen him shoot targets at 50 meters and never miss. He checked the magazine, chambered around. The mechanical sounds were deafening in the small room. I'm going to give you a choice, he said. Because despite this insanity, I still see the soldier I trained. The warrior you were. You can come back from this edge. He raised the pistol, aimed it at my chest. Renounce this Jesus. Spit on that book. Recommit to your faith, your unit, your brothers. And we'll never speak of this again. You'll be disciplined, 3 months' pay, demotion to private, extra duties. But you'll live. You'll stay with your brothers. The gun didn't waver. His hand was perfectly steady. Or, he continued, you continue down this path of betrayal. You choose the Nazarene over your commander, over your unit, over your family, over your God. And I will execute you for treason. Right here. Right now. You'll be buried in an unmarked grave and your family will be told you died in combat. They'll never know you died a traitor and a coward. He lowered the gun slightly, looked me dead in the eyes. You have 60 seconds. Choose. The room felt like it was shrinking. My heart hammered against my ribs. Sweat ran down my spine despite the cool temperature. Every survival instinct screamed at me to recant. To lie. To say whatever he wanted to hear and figure out the truth later. I thought about my father. The disappointment in his eyes if he knew. The shame it would bring on our family name. 3 generations of military service honored, respected, decorated. And I was about to destroy it all. I thought about my unit. My brothers. The men who'd saved my life. Who trusted me. Who I'd trusted. All of that gone. Burned. Because of a book I'd only been reading for 3 weeks. I thought about David. About that impossible peace in his face. About the voice I'd heard. Do you trust me? 30 seconds. Rashid's finger moved to the trigger. I'm waiting, soldier. My voice came out hoarse. Barely above a whisper. I can't. You can't what? I can't renounce him, sir. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Rashid's face transformed. The calculated calm shattered. Raw fury took its place. He stepped forward, pressed the barrel of the gun directly against my forehead. The metal was cold. Hard. Real. You're choosing death, he hissed. For what? For a foreign god? For a religion you barely understand? For a man who died 2,000 years ago and did nothing for you? He died for me, I said. The words surprised me even as I spoke them. That's more than anyone else has ever done. I saved your life. Rashid roared. In Kandahar. When you were pinned down and out of ammunition, I came back for you. I pulled you out of that hell. And you're going to tell me some dead carpenter did more for you than I did? He was right. He had saved me. In Kandahar, 2 years ago, when everything went wrong and I was certain I'd die. He'd come back through enemy fire, pulled me to safety, killed 3 insurgents to get me out. I owed him my life. But something in me had shifted. That crack had become a chasm. And standing on the edge of it, with a gun to my head, I finally understood what David had meant about losing my soul. Sir, I said, my voice steadier now. I'm grateful for what you did. I'd die for this unit. For these men. But I won't deny Jesus. Not even for you. Rashid's hand trembled. Just slightly. Rage and disbelief warred in his expression. Then you're a fool, he whispered. And fools don't survive in my unit. His finger tightened on the trigger. I closed my eyes. Thought about my mother. About the little girl with the doll. About David's prayers. About words I'd read just the night before, do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. I waited for the shot. It didn't come. Instead, I heard the gun lower. Heard Rashid's ragged breathing. Heard him step back. I opened my eyes. He was staring at me like I was something alien. Something he couldn't comprehend. His weapon hung at his side. 3 days, he said finally. You have 3 days to change your mind. To come back to reality. You'll be confined to quarters. No weapons. No communication. You'll think about what you're throwing away. He moved to the door. Stopped. And if in 3 days you still choose this insanity, I won't kill you. That would be mercy. Instead, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. Your father. Your village. Every military contact. You'll be dishonored. Exiled. Hunted. You'll have nothing and no one. He opened the door. 3 days, soldier. Choose wisely. The door slammed shut behind him. I sat alone in that concrete room, hands still cuffed behind my back, and realized something that terrified me more than the gun had. I just lost everything I'd ever known. And somehow, impossibly, I felt more free than I'd ever been. They didn't take me back to the barracks. Instead, Kareem and Yusuf escorted me to the holding cells, small concrete rooms we used for detainees waiting for transport or interrogation. 6 feet by 8 feet. Metal cot bolted to the wall. Bucket in the corner. One small window with bars, too high to reach, letting in a square of pale light. They unlocked my cuffs. Kareem still wouldn't look at me. But Yusuf paused at the door. Brother, he whispered. What are you doing? I rubbed my wrists where the metal had dug in. I don't know. I can't lie about this. You can't lie? His voice cracked with disbelief. We lie for a living. We're ghosts. We don't exist on paper. Our missions never happened. Lying is survival. Not about this. He shook his head. Looked like he wanted to say more. But Kareem called from the hallway, Yusuf, move, and the door slammed shut. The lock turned with brutal finality. I was alone. The first day, I told myself it would be okay. That God, Jesus, whoever was listening, would provide a way out. I'd read stories in that Bible. Daniel in the lion's den. The 3 men in the furnace. Paul and Silas in prison, singing while chains fell off. I waited for chains to fall. They didn't. I paced that cell like a caged animal. 6 steps wall to wall. Turn. 6 steps back. My body was used to action, running, fighting, moving. Confinement felt like suffocation. The walls seemed to press closer with each hour. By the second day, the doubt crept in. What had I done? 3 weeks of reading a book and I'd thrown away my entire life? My career? My brothers? My family's honor? For what? For a religion I barely understood? For a God I couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't feel? I tried to pray. Didn't really know how. In Islam, prayer was structured. 5 times a day. Specific words. Specific postures. You knew what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But this? Christian prayer? David had made it sound simple. Just talk to him, he'd said. Like a father. I knelt by the cot. Felt ridiculous. Felt exposed. Jesus, I whispered. I don't know if you're real. I don't know if you can hear me. But I'm here. I chose you. I stood up for you. So, help me. Please. Give me a sign. Anything. Just show me I didn't make a mistake. Silence. The walls didn't glow. No voice thundered from heaven. No angel appeared with a key to unlock the door. Just concrete. Metal. The drip of water somewhere in the pipes. The distant sound of men training outside my unit, my former brothers, going on without me. I waited. Nothing. Please, I said again. My voice sounded small in that empty cell. Weak. I left everything for you. Where are you? Nothing. I stood up. Anger replaced desperation. I'd seen men call on Allah in battle and believe He answered. I'd heard stories of miracles, of divine intervention. I'd read in that Bible about Jesus healing the sick, raising the dead, walking on water. So where was He now? Where were the miracles when I actually needed one? Is this what faith is? I shouted at the ceiling. Suffering in silence? Abandonment? I had a life. I had purpose. I had brothers. And I gave it all up because some aid worker told me you were real. So be real. Show up. Do something. My voice echoed off concrete and died. Silence answered. I slammed my fist into the wall. Pain shot up my arm. Skin split across my knuckles. Blood dripped onto the floor. I hit it again. Again. Trying to make something respond. Trying to feel something other than this crushing emptiness. I sank to the floor. Back against the wall. Stared at my bleeding hand. What kind of strength was this? What kind of warrior surrenders everything and gets nothing in return? The third day was worse. They brought food once, stale bread, lukewarm water. I couldn't eat. My stomach was a knot of anxiety and regret. The walls felt like they were breathing. Closing in. The square of light from the window moved across the floor as the sun traveled, counting down the hours until Rashid's deadline. I thought about my father. He'd be at home right now. 53 years old. Still strong. Still proud. Probably sitting on the porch with his tea, talking with other veterans about honor and duty and sacrifice. His son was supposed to be his legacy. His proof that he'd raised a man worthy of respect. What would he say when he found out? When Rashid made good on his threat and told everyone what I'd become? I could see his face. The disappointment. The disgust. The way he'd look at me like I was a stranger. Or worse, like I was nothing. Not even worthy of anger. Just erased. A son who never existed. I'd rather see you dead than Christian. I'd heard him say that once, years ago, about a distant cousin who'd converted. At the time, I'd agreed. Thought the cousin was weak. Brainwashed. Lost. Now I was that cousin. My mother would weep. My sisters would be unmarriageable, who wants to connect their family to apostates. My younger brother, still in school, would bear the shame. Kids would mock him. Teachers would look at him differently. All because of me. I destroyed them all. For what? I pulled my knees to my chest. Rocked back and forth. The masculine armor I'd worn my entire life, the stoicism, the strength, the refusal to show weakness, shattered completely. And for the first time since I was maybe 7 years old, I cried. Not quiet tears. Not dignified grief. I'm talking about the kind of crying that rips out of your chest like something dying. Gut-wrenching sobs that made my whole body shake. Tears and snot and sounds I didn't know I could make. I cried for my father's rejection. For my mother's pain. For my brothers in the unit who thought I'd betrayed them. For the life I'd lost. For the warrior I used to be. I cried because I'd chosen faith and faith had given me nothing but isolation and silence and a concrete cell. Where are you? I gasped between sobs. I need you. I can't do this alone. I'm not strong enough. I'm not. I'm not. The word stuck in my throat. The word I'd been trained never to say. Never to be. Never to admit. I'm weak, I finally whispered. I'm weak and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. Shame washed over me. Warriors don't say that. Warriors don't cry in cells. Warriors don't break. But I had broken. Completely. And in that brokenness, in that moment of absolute despair, something shifted. The cell didn't change. The walls didn't move. No voice spoke. But something inside me settled. Like a bone popping back into place. Painful but right. A memory surfaced. Something I'd read 2 nights before the Bible was found. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Weakness. Not strength. Not military prowess. Not the ability to endure pain or kill efficiently or never break. Weakness. What if that was the point? What if breaking was exactly what needed to happen? What if the armor I'd built, the stoicism, the refusal to feel, the belief that strength meant never needing anyone, what if that armor was actually a prison? I'd thought I was strong in the unit. Thought I was powerful with a weapon. Thought I was a warrior because I could hurt others and withstand pain myself. But what if real strength looked like this? Sitting on a concrete floor, crying like a child, admitting you can't do it alone? What if Jesus wasn't testing me with silence? What if he was doing surgery? Cutting away everything I'd built my identity on so I could finally understand who I actually was? Not a soldier. Not a killer. Not an honor bearer or a reputation keeper or a man defined by strength. Just his. The door opened without warning. I scrambled to my feet. Wiped my face with my sleeve. Tried to look like a soldier again. Instinct. Training. Muscle memory. But it wasn't Rashid. It was Yusuf. He slipped inside quickly. Closed the door behind him but didn't lock it. He had something wrapped in cloth tucked under his arm. "Brother," he said urgently. "We don't have much time. What are you doing here?" "I'm getting you out." He thrust the cloth bundle at me. "Change. Now." I unwrapped it. Civilian clothes. Old jeans. A worn jacket. A cap. "Yusuf, what?" "I've been thinking about what you said. About not being able to lie. About choosing Jesus even when it costs everything." He looked at the door nervously. "I had a dream last night. A man in white. He told me. He told me to help you. Said you were going to lead many people to him. That your mission isn't over." My hands trembled as I held the clothes. "If they catch you, then they catch me." His jaw set firm. "Soldier's determination. But I can't watch them destroy you for choosing truth. I can't. So change. There's a transport truck leaving in 10 minutes. Back gate. I've arranged for the guards to be distracted. You'll have maybe a 3-minute window. Where do I go?" "There's a safe house. Address is in the jacket pocket. Christians. They help people like you. Like us." He swallowed hard. "I've been reading too. That Bible you had. Before Rashid destroyed it. The words, 'They won't leave me alone.'" I grabbed his shoulder. "Brother, thank you." Don't thank me. Just run. And when you're safe, when you figure out what this Jesus thing really means," he met my eyes. Pray for me. Because I think I'm going to need it. I changed quickly. The civilian clothes felt strange after years in tactical gear. Foreign. Vulnerable. But also like freedom. Yusuf checked the hallway. Clear. Go now. Straight out, turn right, follow the perimeter fence. You'll see the truck. Don't look back. What about you? I'll lock the cell from outside. Say I found it empty when I came to check. Buy you time. He gripped my hand. Hard. The way soldiers do. Go be the warrior he called you to be. The real kind. I moved to the door. Stopped. Yusuf? Yeah. He's real. Jesus. I don't understand everything. But he's real. Yusuf nodded. Looked like he wanted to believe that more than anything. I ran. Through the hallway. Right turn. Perimeter fence. The evening call to prayer echoed from the base mosque. Perfect timing, most of the men would be inside or heading that direction. The few I saw, I kept my head down, walked with purpose, looked like I belonged. The truck was there. Covered transport. Engine running. Driver's seat empty. I climbed in back. Crouched among supply crates. Waited. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Then I heard footsteps. The driver's door opened. Someone climbed in. The truck lurched forward. We drove through the gate. I heard voices. Casual. Guards checking manifests. Someone laughed. The truck rolled on. 10 minutes later, the driver called back, "You can breathe now. We're clear." I exhaled for what felt like the first time in 3 days. I'd lost my rank. My unit. My family's honor. My identity as a warrior. But I was alive. And somewhere in that concrete cell, in the breaking and the tears and the silence, I'd found something I didn't even know I was missing. A mission worth more than medals. A battle worth more than territory. A king worth dying for. I just had to figure out what that actually meant. The safe house was in the slums of the city 30 miles from the base, in a neighborhood where soldiers didn't patrol and questions weren't asked. Narrow streets. Crumbling buildings. Laundry hanging between windows like prayer flags. The smell of sewage and cooking spices and too many people living too close together. The driver dropped me 3 blocks away. Pointed down an alley. Green door. 3rd floor. Knock 3 times, pause, twice more. They're expecting you. Who are you? I asked. He smiled slightly. Someone who used to be where you are. Go. And may God protect you. The truck disappeared into the maze of streets. I walked. Kept my head down. The cap pulled low. Everything felt wrong without a weapon. Without tactical gear. Without a unit watching my back. I'd operated in hostile territory dozens of times, but always armed. Always with brothers. Always with extraction plans. Now, I was alone. Unarmed. A fugitive. If the military found me, I'd be court-martialed at best. Executed as a deserter at worst. If locals discovered I was ex-military, I could be kidnapped. Ransomed. Killed. Every face was a potential threat. Every sound made me flinch. The green door was weathered. Peeling paint. Looked like it would collapse if you pushed too hard. I climbed the stairs, concrete, cracked, smelling of urine and mold. 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. I knocked. 3 times. Pause. Twice more. Shuffling inside. Locks turning. Multiple locks. The door opened a crack. And I peered out. Older man. Maybe 60. Gray beard. Weathered face. "You're the soldier," he said. Statement, not question. Was, is, doesn't matter to him. "Come in." Quickly. I stepped inside. He shut the door behind me. Engaged 4 separate locks. Chain. Deadbolt. Slide lock. Padlock. The apartment was small. 1 main room. Kitchen area in the corner. 2 doors, probably bedroom and bathroom. But it was clean. Orderly. And covering every available surface: books. Stacks of them. Piled on shelves. On the floor. On the small table. Bibles. In multiple languages. Commentaries. Theological texts. Notebooks filled with handwriting. "Sit," the man said, gesturing to a worn couch. "You look like you haven't eaten in days." 3. He disappeared into the kitchen. Came back with flatbread, hummus, olives, tea. Simple food. But my hands shook as I ate. Hunger I'd been ignoring crashed over me. He sat across from me. Watched. Waited. "I'm Brother Elias," he finally said. "I run this safe house. We help people in transition. People who found Jesus and lost everything else because of it." "How many?" I asked between bites. "In the past 12 years? Maybe 200. We hide them. Feed them. Teach them. Help them relocate when it's safe. Sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes months." He poured tea. "Sometimes we find them too late and we bury them instead." The weight of that hung in the air. "Your friend, the one who arranged your escape." He called ahead. "Told me your situation. Military. Commander's favorite. Chose Jesus. 3-day deadline. Elias studied me. That took courage. Felt more like stupidity. Courage usually does. In the moment." He leaned forward. "But you're here now. And you have a choice. You can hide. We can get you papers. Transport. Send you to another country. Turkey. Maybe Europe. Asylum. A new life. New name. You disappear. Or you stay. You learn. You grow in this faith you chose. And you become dangerous." "Dangerous how?" His eyes gleamed. "Dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. To lies. To fear. To the systems that keep people enslaved. You were a warrior for one kingdom. You could become a warrior for another. But that requires training. Different training than what your commander gave you." I set down the tea. "I don't even know what I believe yet. I read some of a Bible. I heard a voice. I couldn't deny it. But I'm not qualified to." "None of us are," Elias interrupted. "That's the point. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called." "You think Peter was qualified?" "Fisherman. Uneducated. Denied Jesus 3 times. But Jesus made him the rock." "You think Paul was qualified?" "He murdered Christians. Hunted them down. Dragged them to prison. But Jesus made him the greatest missionary who ever lived." He pulled a Bible from the stack beside him. Worn. Marked. Taped together in places. "You want to know what you believe? We start here. We read. We study. We pray. We ask questions. And we let the Spirit teach you." He handed me the book. "But I'm warning you, this path? It's harder than military service. The enemy you'll fight is invisible but more dangerous than any insurgent. The battles happen in hearts and minds. The weapons are words and faith and love. And the cost, he shook his head. The cost is everything. Daily. Over and over. I took the Bible. Heavier than any rifle I'd carried. How long do I have? I asked. Before they find me? Rashid will search. But he has to be careful. Can't make it official, too many questions about why one of his soldiers went rogue. He'll use back channels. Informants. Give it a week before this neighborhood gets too hot. Then we move you. 1 week. To figure out if I'd made the right choice. To understand this faith I'd gambled everything on. To transform from soldier to, what? Disciple? Believer? Whatever that meant. Teach me, I said. Elias smiled. Then we begin. The first 3 days were demolition. Before we build, Elias said, we have to tear down the lies. The false foundations. You grew up Muslim. Military. Warrior culture. Those aren't just beliefs, they're identities. They're woven into how you see God, yourself, manhood, strength, everything. And most of it has to go. We sat at that small table for hours. He'd ask questions. Wait for answers. Then gently, relentlessly, dismantle what I thought I knew. What is strength? He asked. Endurance. Discipline. The ability to withstand pain. To dominate enemies. To protect. And if you can't? If you're weak? Sick? Captured? Are you worthless? I hesitated. No. But, you're less than. Less effective. Less valuable. Says who? Says logic. A weak warrior can't win battles. Elias opened his Bible. 2 Corinthians 12. Paul, writing about a thorn in his flesh, some weakness, some limitation. He begged God to remove it. 3 times. And God said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Then Paul says this, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. He looked up. In God's kingdom, weakness isn't a deficit. It's a doorway. Because when you're weak, you stop relying on yourself. You stop trusting your own strength. And you start trusting His. That's when real power shows up. It felt backwards. Upside down. Everything I'd been taught, inverted. What about honor? I asked. Reputation? My father said a man without honor is nothing. And what is honor? Others' respect. Your name. Your family's legacy. Your word. So your value is determined by what other people think? I stopped. Thought about it. Yes. I guess. That's how it works. Elias nodded. In the world system, yes. You're only worth what others say you're worth. Which means you're constantly performing. Proving. Fighting to maintain reputation. Terrified of shame. Controlled by opinion. He flipped pages. But listen to this. Galatians 1, verse 10, am I not trying to win the approval of human beings, or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. He leaned back. You can serve man's approval or God's approval. Not both. You chose God. That means your honor, your value, doesn't come from your father, your commander, your culture. It comes from the one who made you. And brother, his opinion is the only one that matters. Day after day, he systematically took apart my worldview. What I thought made a man valuable, strength, violence, dominance, Jesus redefined as servanthood, sacrifice, love. What I thought made a man weak, tears, vulnerability, dependence, Jesus modeled and called blessed. What I thought was righteous, defending honor, punishing enemies, maintaining reputation, Jesus exposed as pride. It was brutal. Every conversation felt like surgery without anesthesia. Cutting away tumors I didn't know I had. Revealing infections I'd thought were healthy tissue. Some nights I'd lie on that couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling like nothing was left. Like I'd been dismantled and the pieces didn't fit anymore. Who am I asked Elias one night, if I'm not a warrior? Not a soldier? Not my father's son? Not my commander's protege? Who am I if all of that is gone? You're his, Elias said simply. You're a child of God. A son. Loved. Chosen. Called. That's your identity. Everything else is just roles you play. But your core? That's settled. Forever. On the fourth day, we started building. Now that we've cleared the rubble, Elias said, we lay a new foundation. And there's only one, Jesus Christ. Not rules. Not performance. Not good behavior. Just him. We started in the Gospels. Matthew. Mark. Luke. John. Reading slowly. Out loud. Discussing every section. I watched Jesus interact with people. With the powerful religious leaders, Roman officials, he was fierce. Confrontational. Called them vipers and whitewashed tombs. With the broken prostitutes, tax collectors, sick people, children, he was gentle. Patient. Present. See that? Elias pointed to a passage in John 8. Woman caught in adultery. Religious leaders ready to stone her. Jesus wrote in the dirt, then said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. The powerful, Elias said, wanted to use her shame to trap Jesus. To maintain their control. But Jesus protected her. Exposed their hypocrisy. Then told her, go and sin no more. Not condemnation. Not performance. Just truth and grace together. I'd never seen God like this. In Islam, Allah was transcendent. Distant. Judging. You approached him with fear and ritual. You earned favor through obedience. But Jesus? He touched lepers. Ate with sinners. Let prostitutes wash his feet with their tears. He didn't wait for people to clean up before approaching him. He met them in their mess. This is what you died for. I whispered, reading about the crucifixion in Luke 23. For people who mocked you? Spit on you? For soldiers who gambled for your clothes while you suffocated? Elias's voice was thick with emotion. For them. And for you. For the soldier who held a gun to an aid worker's head. For the warrior who left bodies behind. For the man who built his life on violence and pride. He died for that man. To set him free. Something broke in me. Again. Deeper this time. All my training said strength was never showing weakness. Never asking for help. Never admitting you were wrong. But Jesus, the King of Kings, hung naked on a cross. Let himself be mocked. Beaten. Killed. And called it victory. Father, forgive them, he prayed. They don't know what they're doing. Forgive them. The people torturing him. I thought about Commander Rashid. About my father. About the men in my unit who'd watched me get dragged away. Could I forgive them? Not on your own, Elias said, reading my expression. In your own strength? No. Forgiveness like that is impossible. But remember his power in your weakness. You ask him. He does the work. On the seventh day, Elias brought someone else to the safe house. Young man. Maybe 25. Nervous. Bruises on his face. Split lip. This is Amir, Elias said. His family discovered he was reading the Bible. They beat him. Threw him out. He's been hiding in the streets for 3 days. Amir looked at me with hollow eyes. Recognized something. You're military, he said. Was. They came after you too? Yeah. He sank into a chair. I don't know if I can do this. My mother, she was crying. Saying I destroyed the family. My father said he'd rather I was dead. My brother, he's the one who beat me. We used to be best friends. His voice cracked. How do you walk away from that? How do you keep believing when it costs this much? I looked at Elias. He nodded. Go ahead. I pulled my chair closer to Amir. Brother, I'm 7 days into this. I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring it out. But I can tell you this, 3 days ago, I was in a cell, crying like a child, asking God where he was. Why he wasn't showing up. Why he let me lose everything. Did he answer? Not how I expected. No miracles. No angels. No dramatic rescue. Just silence. And in that silence, I had to decide, is he real? Is he worth it? Even when it costs everything? And I met his eyes. I'm still here. I'm still choosing him. Because here's what I figured out, the cost is high. But what I lost? That was just roles. Positions. Reputation. What I gained? That's identity. Purpose. Freedom. Real freedom, not from consequences, but from the prison of performing for people who will never be satisfied. Amir wiped his eyes. My father said I'm weak. That real men don't cry. Don't question. Don't choose a foreign god. Your father's wrong, I said. Real men, real warriors, have the courage to choose truth even when it costs everything. Even when everyone they love rejects them. That's not weakness, brother. That's the strongest thing you'll ever do. Elias put a Bible in Amir's hands. You're not alone. You're never alone. Jesus said, whoever comes to me I will never drive away. Never. You're here. You're welcome. And we're going to walk this road together. That night, after Amir had fallen asleep on the couch, I sat by the window. The city sprawled below, thousands of lights, millions of people. Most of them didn't know Jesus. Didn't know the freedom I was just beginning to taste. I thought about my unit. My brothers. The men still fighting battles that didn't matter for a kingdom that wouldn't last. I thought about Yusuf. Reading that Bible. Wrestling with questions. Risking everything to help me escape. I thought about Commander Rashid. His fury. His control. His desperate need to maintain power. Pray for them, Elias had said. For everyone who hurt you. For everyone you hurt. That's your new mission. So I did. For the first time in my life, I prayed for my enemies. Not that God would destroy them. Not that I'd get revenge. But that they'd encounter Jesus. That they'd find what I was finding. That they'd be set free. It felt impossible. Unnatural. Against every instinct. But as I prayed, something shifted. The bitterness I'd been carrying, the anger at my father, the betrayal by my unit, the shame, it started to loosen. Just a little. Like a knot beginning to untie. This is the warrior you're making me? I whispered. Someone who prays for enemies? Who forgives betrayers? Who leads through love instead of force? No audible answer. But deep inside, in that place where I'd first heard his voice, I felt it. Yes. This is your new mission. And it will cost you more than any battle you've fought. But it will matter more than any victory you've won. Trust me. I'm training you for a war the world can't see. And you're going to set captives free. I looked at Amir, sleeping fitfully on the couch. At Elias, bent over his Bible in the lamplight. At the city beyond the window. A new mission. A new battle. A new kind of strength. I was ready. The dream came on the 8th night. I'd been sleeping poorly, too much adrenaline, too many thoughts, too many changes happening too fast inside my head and heart. That night was no different. I dozed off around midnight on the couch, Elias's Bible open on my chest, still wearing the civilian clothes that felt like a costume. Then everything changed. I was back at the base. Not the safe house. Not the slums. The military compound. I could smell it, gun oil, diesel fuel, the acrid tang of burnt powder from the range. I could hear it, boots on concrete, shouted orders, the metallic clang of weapons being maintained. I was in full tactical gear. Vest. Helmet. Rifle in my hands. Familiar weight. Familiar grip. Like putting on an old skin. My unit was around me. All 12 men. Kareem. Yusuf. The others. We were moving through a building urban combat scenario. Clearing rooms. Professional. Efficient. Deadly. But something was wrong. The building had no end. Every door led to another hallway. Every hallway to more doors. We kept moving, kept clearing, but we weren't getting anywhere. And my brothers, their faces were starting to change. Eyes hollow. Skin gray. Moving but not alive. Corpses in tactical gear. Guys, I called out. Something's wrong. We need to extract. They didn't respond. Just kept moving. Mechanical. Zombies following orders. I grabbed Kareem's shoulder. Brother, look at me. He turned. His eyes were empty sockets. His mouth opened and insects poured out. I stumbled backward. Hit a wall. Except it wasn't a wall, it was a door. Massive. Iron. Covered in chains and locks. And from behind it, I heard screaming. Thousands of voices. Men, women, children. Screaming in terror and agony. The sound clawed at my ears, at my mind, tried to pull me down into whatever hell existed behind that door. My unit turned toward me. Raised their weapons. Pointed them at my chest. You abandoned us, they said in unison. Voices layered. Demonic. You chose weakness. You chose a dead god. Now join us in the dark. 12 fingers on 12 triggers. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My own rifle felt like lead in my hands. They fired. I should have died. But the bullets stopped. Hung in the air. Inches from my body. Suspended like the dream had paused. Then he was there. I didn't see him appear. He was just suddenly present. Standing between me and my unit. Between me and the bullets. Between me and the iron door. Jesus. I knew it was him. Don't ask me how. I'd never seen his face. Never heard his voice audibly. But I knew. The way you know your own name. The way you know when you're awake versus asleep. Certainty beyond questioning. He wasn't how I'd imagined. Not the pale, gentle figure from Renaissance paintings. Not the weak, soft-eyed icon from Christian artwork. He stood like a soldier. 6 feet tall. Broad shoulders. Muscular build. Hands that looked like they'd swung hammers and hauled nets and overturned tables. His skin was Middle Eastern olive-toned, weathered by sun and wind. His hair was dark, somewhat long, pulled back. His beard was thick, trimmed. But his eyes. God help me, his eyes. They were fire. Not metaphorically. Actual flames, gold and white and burning with an intensity that should have incinerated me on the spot. Eyes that had seen every human who'd ever lived. Every sin. Every betrayal. Every act of violence. Eyes that had stared down demons and death and hell itself and won. Warrior's eyes. But also, impossibly, gentle. Like he could destroy me with a glance or heal me with the same look. Power and compassion fused together in a way that defied logic. He wore simple clothes. Tunic. Belt. Sandals. But there was authority radiating from him that made Commander Rashid look like a child playing dress-up. This was a king. A general. A commander who'd led armies through battles I couldn't comprehend. The bullets clattered to the ground. My unit froze. Then began to dissolve. Like smoke. Like they'd never been real. The iron door behind me started to crack. Light pure, brilliant, violent light poured through the gaps. The screaming stopped. Replaced by silence so complete it was louder than any noise. Jesus turned to face me. Stand up, he said. His voice. I can't describe it properly. Deep. Resonant. The kind of voice that commands weather in calm storms and calls dead men out of tombs. But also warm. Familiar. Like he'd known me before I was born. I realized I was on my knees. Didn't remember falling. I tried to stand but couldn't. My legs wouldn't work. He stepped closer. Knelt in front of me. Now we were eye level. You're afraid, he said. Not a question. Observation. Yes. My voice cracked. Of what? That I made a mistake. That I threw away my life for nothing. That you're not real. Or not enough. He didn't look offended. Didn't get angry. He just nodded. Like he understood. Then he held out his hands. Palms up. And I saw the scars. Holes. Ragged. Where nails had been driven through flesh and bone. Wounds that should have killed him. Wounds that did kill him. But he was alive. Here. Kneeling in front of me with those scars still visible. I'm real, he said quietly. And I'm enough. Touch them if you need to. I stared at those hands. At the price he'd paid. Not in a firefight. Not defending himself. but voluntarily. Surrendering to torture and execution because. Why? I whispered. Why would you do that? For you. You don't even know me. I know every hair on your head. Every thought you've ever had. Every person you've hurt. Every wound you carry. I know the night you killed your first man and couldn't sleep for a week. I know the little girl with the doll. I know the shame you've hidden from everyone, even yourself. I know all of it. He leaned closer. Those burning eyes locked onto mine. And I still chose this. He lifted his scarred hands. I still chose you. Before you chose me. Before you were born. Before the world existed. I saw you. Broken and violent and proud and desperate. And I said, that one. He's worth dying for. Something inside me shattered. I thought I'd broken in that cell. Thought I'd hit bottom. But this was deeper. This was the final wall. The last piece of armor. The core of pride that said I had to earn value, had to prove worth, had to achieve honor. It all collapsed. I grabbed his hands. Those scarred hands. And I wept. Not like in the cell, that was despair. This was something else. Relief. Release. Like a soldier coming home after years of war. Like a prisoner stepping into sunlight after decades in a dungeon. I killed people, I sobbed. I hurt so many people. I was so proud. So arrogant. I thought I was strong and I was just broken and scared in. I know, he said gently. His thumbs rubbed across my knuckles. Calloused hands. Workers' hands. Warriors' hands. I know. And I forgive you. All of it. Every single thing. It's finished. Done. The debt is paid. How? How can you just forgive? Because that's what love does. He smiled slightly. A warrior's smile. The kind that says the battle's already won. I didn't come to condemn you. I came to set you free. From guilt. From shame. From the prison of trying to earn what I've already given you. He stood. Pulled me to my feet. I was still crying but also laughing. Both at once. Emotions I didn't have names for crashing over me like waves. Jesus put his hand on my shoulder. The weight of it was incredible. Not heavy. But solid. Real. Anchoring. You were a warrior, he said. A good one. Disciplined. Skilled. Loyal. Brave. All of that, I'm not erasing it. I'm redeeming it. I don't understand. You were trained to fight. To lead. To endure. To protect. Those are good things. But you were fighting the wrong war. Protecting the wrong kingdom. Following the wrong commander. He gestured around us, the building had transformed. We were standing on a mountaintop now. Stars overhead so bright they hurt to look at. Landscape spreading in every direction. The real war isn't against flesh and blood. It's against powers and principalities. Spiritual forces that enslave people. That blind them. That dragged them toward that iron door you heard. He turned me to face the landscape. And I could see it now, threads. Invisible before but visible now. Threads of darkness wrapping around people. Cities. Nations. Choking them. Blinding them. Pulling them down. That's the enemy, Jesus said. Not people. Never people. People are captives. Prisoners of war. Your old commander trained you to kill the prisoners. I'm training you to set them free. How? He tapped my chest. Right over my heart. With this. With truth. With love. With the gospel. With prayer. With your story, every broken piece of it. You'll go back into the darkness. But not as a soldier bringing death. As a son bringing life. I'm not qualified. I barely understand any of this. I've been a Christian for 8 days. Paul wasn't qualified either. Peter. John. All of them fishermen, tax collectors, murderers. I don't call the qualified. I qualify the called. He gripped both my shoulders now. Looked me dead in the eyes. And you are called. I'm sending you back. To your unit. To your commander. To your father. To everyone who rejected you. Not to get revenge. Not to prove them wrong. But to show them what I showed you, there's another way. Another kingdom. Another king worth following. They'll kill me. Maybe. Probably. He said it so matter-of-factly. No false promises. No prosperity gospel. But even death isn't the end. I proved that. And brother, his voice softened. Became almost tender. Don't you want them to know what you know? Don't you want Yusuf to find freedom? Kareem? Even Rashid? Even your father? Don't you want them to meet me? I thought about my unit. Hollow-eyed. Going through motions. Following orders that led nowhere. I thought about my father. Rigid. Controlled by honor codes that demanded he reject his own son. I thought about Commander Rashid. Powerful. Feared. But enslaved to maintaining control. They were prisoners. All of them. And I'd been one too. I want them free, I whispered. Jesus smiled fully now. Not warrior grim. Joyful. Radiant. The kind of smile that makes you understand why people followed him into impossibility. Then we have work to do. He pulled me into an embrace. Strong arms. The kind of hug a father gives a son. Or a commander gives a soldier before a dangerous mission. I'm with you. Always. You won't see me like this most days. Won't hear my voice audibly. But I'm there. In the fear. In the pain. In the moments when you think you can't go on. I'm there. And my power, real power, not the cheap counterfeit you used to know, my power works best when you're weak. When you're scared. When you have nothing left but trust. He released me. Stepped back. Go back to sleep now. Tomorrow you wake up. And the mission begins. What mission exactly? You'll know when you need to know. Trust me. Step by step. Day by day. I'll guide you. The dream started to fade. But his voice remained. Clear. Certain. Oh, and one more thing. Yes? Tell Yusuf I'm proud of him. He'll understand. I woke up gasping. Sitting upright on the couch. Sweat-soaked. Heart pounding. The Bible that had been on my chest was on the floor, fallen open to a random page. Elias was awake, sitting in his chair, watching me. You saw him, he said quietly. Not a question. How did you? Your face. I've seen that look before. People who've encountered Jesus really encountered him, they come back different. Changed. Marked. He leaned forward. Tell me. I told him. Everything. The dream. The unit. The door. Jesus kneeling in front of me. The scars. The mission. All of it. When I finished, Elias was crying. 30 years, he whispered. I've been doing this work for 30 years. Helped hundreds of people. And I've never, he wiped his eyes. I've never heard him say he was proud of someone. Not directly like that. He said to tell Yusuf. Then we find a way to get word to him. Elias stood. Paced. Energy pouring off him. This changes things. The timeline. The plan. If Jesus is sending you back. Wait, back? To the base? That's suicide. Maybe. Or maybe it's exactly what he said, a mission. The most dangerous one you'll ever take. He looked at me. Can you do it? Can you walk back into the fire? I thought about Jesus' eyes. His scarred hands. His words, I'm with you. Always. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. But I think I have to try. Elias gripped my shoulder. Then we prepare. We train. Because you're not going in there as a soldier anymore. You're going in as an ambassador. A messenger. A warrior of a different kind. He pulled out a notebook. Started writing. First, we need to get you grounded in scripture. You need to know what you believe and why. Second, we need to teach you how to share your story clearly, powerfully, without apology. Third, we need to pray. Hours of it. Spiritual warfare isn't a metaphor. It's real. And where you're going, the enemy will fight hard. How long do I have? Jesus said you'd know when it's time. Could be days. Could be weeks. But when he says go, you go. No hesitation. That soldier training you can keep. I picked up the fallen Bible. The page it had opened to was Ephesians 6. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. I read it aloud. Elias listened. Nodded. Your old commander gave you tactical gear. Rifles. Body armor. Training to kill. He pointed at the passage. Your new commander gives you truth, righteousness, the gospel of peace, faith, salvation, the word of God, and prayer. That's your loadout now. Learn it. Master it. Because, brother. He met my eyes. You're about to go to war. Real war. And this time, you're fighting for souls. I looked at the Bible in my hands. At Amir sleeping on the other couch, bruised but peaceful. At Elias, this old warrior who'd spent 30 years in the trenches. At the window, where dawn was just starting to break over the city. Somewhere out there, my unit was waking up. Following orders. Fighting battles that didn't matter. Somewhere out there, Commander Rashid was hunting for me. Furious. Determined. Somewhere out there, my father was living with the shame of his apostate son. And somewhere out there, Yusuf was reading a Bible in secret, wrestling with questions, wondering if following Jesus was worth the cost. They were all prisoners. And I'd been given the key. Jesus is the warrior king, the commander of heaven's armies, the one with fire in his eyes and scars in his hands, had sent me back to set them free. I was terrified. But for the first time in my life, I was fighting for something that mattered. For someone who'd already won. 3 weeks. That's how long Elias trained me. 3 weeks of intensive discipleship that felt more rigorous than military basic training. We'd wake before dawn at prayer. Breakfast, memorizing scripture. Morning, studying the Gospels, learning apologetic, understanding theology. Afternoon, practicing my testimony, role-playing confrontations, preparing for questions. Evening, more prayer. Spiritual warfare intercession for my unit, for Rashid, for my father. Amir joined us. And 3 others who showed up, 2 women who'd fled arranged marriages to violent men, and another former soldier like me. We became a small battalion. Brothers and sisters. Training together. Praying together. Preparing for battles we couldn't fully see. But I knew my battle was coming. Could feel it. Like the pressure change before a storm. On day 19, Yusuf made contact. A coded message through the driver who'd brought me to the safe house. Simple. Direct. Commander knows you're alive. He's planning something. He wants you to come back. Says if you return on your own, he'll give you a chance to explain. If he has to find you, there's no mercy. You have 48 hours to decide. Elias read the message. Looked at me. It's a trap, he said. Obviously. He'll have the entire unit waiting. Probably armed. You walk in there, you might not walk out. I know. So what are you going to do? I've been asking myself that question for 3 weeks. Praying. Listening. Waiting for clarity. And that morning, during prayer, I'd felt it. That same voice from the cell. From the dream. Quiet but certain. Go. It's time. I'm with you. I'm going back, I said. Amir shot up from where he'd been reading. Brother, no. That's insane. He'll kill you. Maybe. But Jesus sent me back for this. For them. I can't run forever. Elias studied my face. Looking for doubt, maybe. Or fear. He'd find both. But also something else. Resolve. You're sure? He asked quietly. No. But I'm going anyway. He nodded slowly. Then we prepare you. Properly. The next 48 hours were consecration. We fasted. Prayed. The entire safe house, all 6 of us plus Elias, laid hands on me and interceded. They prayed for protection. For boldness. For the words to speak. For miracles. For Rashid's heart to soften. For my unit to have eyes to see and ears to hear. They prayed like their lives depended on it. Because mine did. Elias gave me a new Bible. Small enough to hide. Don't leave without this. It's your weapon now. Amir gave me a cross on a leather cord. Roughly made. I carved it, he said, embarrassed. Thought you might want. I don't know. A reminder. I put it around my neck. Tucked it under my shirt where it wouldn't be visible. The two women, Fatima and Layla, made me food for the journey. Packed it carefully. Fatima grabbed my hand as I took it. My husband used to beat me, she said softly. Told me I was worthless. Nothing. For 15 years I believed him. Then I met Jesus. And he told me I was a daughter. Beloved. Worth dying for. Tears ran down her face. You go tell those men, the ones who think they're so strong, you tell them real strength looks like Jesus. Like sacrifice. Like love. You tell them. I will. The other former soldier, Hassan, pulled me aside the night before I left. I ran, he said bluntly. When my unit discovered my faith. I ran. Got out of the country. Been living in hiding for 2 years. Safe. Comfortable. And miserable. He gripped my shoulders. Because I left brothers behind. Men who need Jesus just like I did. And I was too scared to go back. His voice broke. Don't be me. Don't run. You go back. You be brave for all of us who weren't. I left at dawn. Walked out of the safe house wearing the same civilian clothes I'd arrived in. Bible hidden in my jacket. Cross under my shirt. No weapons. No backup. No extraction plan. Just me and God. The walk to the base took 4 hours. I could have hired transport. But I needed the time. Needed to pray. To settle my mind. To remember everything Elias had taught me. You're not going to defend yourself. You're going to tell the truth. Calmly. Clearly. Your story is your weapon. What Jesus did in you, that's undeniable. They can argue theology. They can't argue transformation. The base appeared on the horizon. Chain link fence. Guard towers. The familiar layout I'd memorized years ago. Home. Except it wasn't anymore. I approached the main gate. The guards recognized me immediately. Eyes widened. Hands went to weapons. Stand down. I called out, hands raised. I'm here voluntarily. Tell Commander Rashid that his soldier has returned. They didn't stand down. Kept rifles trained on me. One spoke into his radio. Urgent. Fast. 60 seconds later, a vehicle screamed up. Doors flew open. Kareem and 3 others emerged. Grabbed me. Slammed me against the fence. Searched me roughly. Found the Bible. Kareem held it up. Looked at me with something like grief. You really did it, he said quietly. You really became one of them. I became free, I said. He didn't respond. Just cuffed me and threw me in the vehicle. They brought me to the training yard. Not the interrogation room. Not the barracks. The open training yard where we used to run drills, practice formations, test our skills. Now it was an arena. The entire unit was there. All 12 men. Standing in formation. Armed. Behind them others. Maybe 30 soldiers total. Word had spread. The apostate was returning. This would be a spectacle. A warning. A lesson. And in the center, waiting, was Commander Rashid. He looked older than I remembered. More tired. But no less dangerous. He watched me get dragged out of the vehicle and forced to my knees in front of him. The cuffs cut into my wrists. The sun beat down. Dust swirled in the wind. Rashid held up my Bible. Turned it over in his hands like it was evidence in a trial. 3 weeks, he said. His voice carried across the yard. Everyone could hear. You disappeared for 3 weeks. I gave you a chance to come back. To recant. To return to your senses. Instead, you hide with Christians. You study their book. You fully convert. He threw the Bible at my feet. And then you have the audacity, the absolute arrogance, to walk back into my base. Unarmed. Alone. Like you have something to say that we need to hear. He crouched in front of me. Eye level. Just like Jesus had in the dream. But this was different. This was threat, not love. So talk, Rashid said coldly. You wanted to come back? You're here. Explain. Defend yourself. Tell me why I shouldn't execute you right now for treason and desertion. I looked at him. At the fury barely contained behind his eyes. At the unit behind him, my brothers, watching. Some angry. Some confused. Yusuf was there. Wouldn't look at me. But I could see his hands shaking slightly. I looked at the Bible in the dust. At the sky above. At the men who were probably going to kill me. And I felt it. That peace. The same peace David the aid worker had when I held a gun to his head. Impossible peace. Jesus' peace. I took a deep breath. I'm not here to defend myself, I said. My voice was steady. Calm. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is, I was lost. Broken. Empty. I thought I was strong because I could kill without hesitation. I thought I was honorable because I followed orders. I thought I was a warrior because I could endure pain. But I was just enslaved. To pride. To violence. To a system that used me up and would discard me the moment I wasn't useful. Rashid's jaw tightened. Careful, soldier. I'm not your soldier anymore, sir. I'm his. I looked at the men. 3 weeks ago, I was in a cell. Broken. Crying. Asking God where he was. Why he wasn't showing up. And you know what happened? He met me. Not with power like I expected. Not with miracles or armies. He met me in my weakness. And he told me I was loved. Not because of what I could do. Not because I was strong or useful or valuable to some mission. But just because I'm his. Because he made me. Because he died for me. Blasphemy, someone muttered. Maybe, I said. But it's truth. Jesus Christ, not a prophet, not just a good teacher, Jesus is God. He came to earth. Lived as a man. Was tortured. Executed. And he did it voluntarily. He could have called down armies of angels. Could have destroyed everyone who touched him. But he didn't. Because the mission wasn't to dominate. It was to save. I picked up the Bible from the dust. Held it up. This book? It's not propaganda. It's not Western colonialism. It's the story of God pursuing humanity. Pursuing us. Even when we reject him. Even when we spit in his face and drive nails through his hands. He still comes after us. Still offers forgiveness. Still says, come home. I love you. I want you free. Rashid stood. You're describing weakness. Not strength. No, sir. I'm describing the strongest thing in the universe, love that won't quit. Love that goes to the cross. Love that defeats death itself. I stood too, even though no one gave permission. You taught me to fight. To kill. To dominate. And I'm grateful for the discipline, the skill, the brotherhood. But you never taught me why. What we're actually fighting for. What makes it worth it? We fight for our nation. Our people. Our faith. We fight for control, I shot back. For territory. For power. And it never ends, does it? One mission leads to another. One enemy replaced by the next. We're chasing something we'll never catch. Peace? Honor? Purpose? They don't come from a rifle, sir. They don't come from violence. They come from surrender. From laying down your weapons and picking up a new mission. Which is what? Converting? Becoming weak? Letting our enemies walk over us? No. Becoming free. And helping others find freedom. I looked at each man individually. Brothers. Look at yourselves. Are you free? Or are you slaves to orders, to reputation, to the constant need to prove you're strong enough, tough enough, man enough? When was the last time you felt peace? Real peace? When was the last time you weren't afraid of failure, of shame, of losing status? Several men shifted uncomfortably. Jesus offers something different, I continued. He doesn't erase your strength. He redeems it. He takes everything you are, the discipline, the courage, the warrior spirit, and he says, follow me. Fight for my kingdom. Protect the vulnerable. Defend truth. Battle against evil, real evil, spiritual evil, not just human enemies. That's the mission he gave me. That's why I came back. You came back to convert us, Rashid said flatly. I came back to tell you there's another way. And that I love you. The words surprised even me. But they were true. All of you. You're my brothers. You saved my life. Fought beside me. Bled with me. And I want you to know what I know, that you're more than soldiers. More than weapons. You're men. Sons. Beloved by a God who made you for more than this. Silence. Complete silence except for wind across the yard. Rashid stared at me. Calculating. Processing. Then he pulled his sidearm. Beautiful speech, he said coldly. Very moving. But words don't change reality. You're a traitor. An apostate. A deserter. And there are consequences. He chambered around. Several men flinched. Last chance, Rashid said. Renounce this Jesus. Spit on that book. Recommit to Islam, to this unit, to your oath. And maybe I let you live. The gun pointed at my chest. My heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to back down. To lie. To survive. But I remembered Jesus. Those scarred hands. Those fire eyes. His words, I'm with you. Always. No, sir, I said quietly. I won't deny him. Not for you. Not for anyone. You can shoot me. But you can't make me unsee what I've seen. Unknow what I know. Jesus is real. He's alive. And he's the only commander worth dying for. Rashid's hand trembled. Fury and something else, fear, flashed across his face. Then die, he whispered. His finger tightened on the trigger. I closed my eyes. Jesus, I'm yours. If this is it, I'm ready. But please, let them see. Let them know you're real. The shot rang out. Deafening. I waited for pain. For darkness. For the end. It didn't come. I opened my eyes. Rashid was staring at his gun. Confusion. Disbelief. He pulled the trigger again. Click. Again. Click. Again. Click. 5 times. 6. 7. Misfires. Every single one. He dropped the magazine. Checked it. Full. 15 rounds. Chambered 1. Aimed at the ground. Fired. Bang. The gun worked. Aimed it at me again. Point-blank range. Click. The yard erupted in chaos. Men shouting. Some backing away. Some dropping to their knees. Yusuf was openly crying. Rashid looked at me like I was a ghost. Like I was something he couldn't comprehend. What are you? He breathed. I'm just a man, I said. But I serve a God who keeps his promises. And he promised no weapon forged against you will prevail. That includes yours, sir. The gun fell from Rashid's hand. He stumbled backward. Sank to his knees. For the first time in the 7 years I'd known him, Commander Rashid looked vulnerable. Broken. Human. It's not possible, he whispered. Guns don't just, that doesn't. I knelt in front of him. Picked up the Bible. Offered it. It's not possible in the world you know, I said gently. But there's another world. Another kingdom. One where God protects his children. Where miracles still happen. Where even the hardest heart can be softened. Sir, Commander, you don't have to keep fighting. You don't have to keep controlling. You can rest. Jesus offers rest. Rashid stared at the Bible. At me. At his hands. Then he did something I never thought I'd see. He wept. Not quiet tears. Broken, gasping sobs. The sound of a man who'd carried control for so long that letting go was physically painful. I'm tired, he choked out. I'm so tired. Of fighting. Of pretending I have answers. Of making boys into killers and calling it honorable. I'm tired. I put my hand on his shoulder. Then stop. Surrender. Not to me. To him. Around us, the unit watched. Some still had weapons raised. But many had lowered them. Yusuf stepped forward. Then Kareem. Then others. One by one, they moved closer. A circle forming. Brothers drawn to something they couldn't explain but desperately needed. How? Rashid asked. How do I surrender to a God I've spent my life rejecting? You just ask. Confess your need. Believe he's real and that he loves you. That's it. No performance. No earning it. Just honest surrender. Rashid looked up at the sky. At the sun. At something beyond what any of us could see. Jesus, he said hoarsely. If you're real, if you can forgive someone like me, I'm here. I'm broken. I surrender. The wind stopped. Complete stillness. And then, I can't prove this, can't explain it scientifically, but we all felt it. A presence. Warmth. Peace washing over that training yard like a wave. Tangible. Real. Rashid gasped. Grabbed his chest. Not in pain. In wonder. He's here, he whispered. He's actually here. Yusuf dropped to his knees. I feel him too. I feel him. One by one, men started kneeling. Crying. Praying. Some in confusion. Some in surrender. Some just overwhelmed by something they'd never experienced. I looked around at my unit, these warriors, these killers, these men who'd been taught that strength meant never breaking, all of them on their knees. Encountering Jesus. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The base exploded into chaos within hours. Word spread fast, impossible to contain. 30 soldiers had witnessed it. Commander Rashid on his knees. His weapon misfiring 7 times against one man. Men crying. Praying. Encountering something they couldn't explain. By evening, military intelligence arrived. 3 officers. Grim-faced. Demanding explanations. Rashid met with them privately. I waited in the barracks with my unit, my former unit. The atmosphere was electric. Tense. Uncertain. Men who'd trained together for years suddenly didn't know how to talk to each other. Some looked at me like I was holy. Others like I was dangerous. A few wouldn't look at me at all. Yusuf sat next to me. He'd been the first to openly declare faith after Rashid. No hiding. No pretending. They're going to shut this down, he said quietly. This kind of thing, mass conversions, supernatural events, questioning authority, it threatens everything. The command structure. The ideology. The control. I know. They might arrest all of us. Court-martial. Executions. I know. He looked at me. Was it worth it? Coming back? I thought about Rashid's tears. About the 11 men who'd prayed with him. About the presence of Jesus in that training yard. Yes, I said. Even if they kill us tomorrow. Yes. Kareem approached. He hadn't prayed. Hadn't declared anything. But he'd been watching. Processing. The officers are demanding you leave, he said. They want you off the base by sunrise. Rashid's arguing with them. Says if you go, he goes. Says he won't command men for a government that punishes people for finding God. He said that? Verbatim. It's insane. He's throwing away 23 years of service. For what? For you? For some religious experience that might just be psychological? I met his eyes. You were there, Kareem. You saw what happened. That wasn't psychological. I saw a gun malfunction. It happens. 7 times in a row? Then work perfectly when aimed at the ground? Then malfunction again when aimed at me? He had no answer. Just frustration and confusion warring in his expression. I don't know what I believe, he finally said. But I know what I saw. And it scares me. Because if you're right, if Jesus is real, if God actually intervenes, if everything we've been taught is wrong, then what does that make us? What does that make everything we've done? It makes us men who need forgiveness, I said gently. Same as everyone else. Jesus doesn't condemn you, brother. He offers freedom. From guilt. From the weight of the past. From the slavery of earning your worth through violence. Kareem shook his head. Walked away. But I saw him pause at the door. Look back. The question in his eyes. Rashid returned at midnight. He looked exhausted. Defeated. But also lighter somehow. Like a burden had been lifted. He addressed the 11 men who'd prayed with him earlier. The rest of the unit listened from their bunks. Intelligence has given me an ultimatum, he said flatly. I can stay. Keep my command. Keep my rank and reputation. But only if I recant. Declare the events of today as mass hysteria. Psychological breakdown due to stress. Recommend psychiatric evaluation for everyone involved. And have him, he gestured at me, arrested and quietly disappeared. Silence. Or, he continued, I can resign. Effective immediately. Surrender my command. Accept dishonorable discharge. And walk away with my faith intact. What did you choose? Yusuf asked. Rashid pulled off his insignia. The marks of rank he'd worn for over 2 decades. Dropped them on the table. I choose Jesus, he said simply. I spent 23 years serving a kingdom that will forget me the moment I'm gone. I'd rather spend the rest of my life serving a king who died for me. Several men gasped. Others looked stricken. Anyone who wants to follow, to leave this base, this life, and pursue this faith, you have until dawn to decide. Pack light. Bring only what you can carry. There's a safe house in the city. We'll regroup there. Figure out what comes next. Sir, one of the younger soldiers spoke up. Where will we go? What will we do? We're soldiers. This is all we know. We'll become different kinds of soldiers, Rashid said. His voice was firm. Confident. The commander hadn't disappeared, he just changed allegiance. We'll fight different battles. For souls instead of territory. For truth instead of control. We'll be warriors for Christ. And brother, he smiled slightly, that's the only war worth fighting. By dawn, 13 of us gathered at the gate. Rashid. Me. Yusuf. 9 others from the unit. And Hassan, the other former soldier from the safe house who'd shown up during the night, somehow hearing what happened, deciding it was time to stop hiding. 13 men. Backpacks. Civilian clothes. No weapons except Bibles. Kareem watched from the barracks. He hadn't decided. Stood in the doorway, torn. I caught his eye. Nodded. No pressure. No judgment. Just invitation. He turned away. We walked out of the base together. The gates closed behind us with brutal finality. Everything we'd been rank, reputation, identity, security stayed inside those fences. But we walked out free. The safe house wasn't designed for 13 men. Elias nearly had a heart attack when we showed up. What did you do? He exclaimed, staring at the crowd on his doorstep. I told them about Jesus, I said. He did the rest. Rashid stepped forward. I'm the commanding officer. I'm responsible for these men. We need shelter. Training. Discipleship. We've left everything. We have nothing. But we're willing to learn. To serve. To become whatever God calls us to be. Elias looked at him. At all of us. At the small army of former killers standing in his doorway. Then he laughed. Deep, joyful, incredulous laughter. 30 years, he said, wiping his eyes. 30 years I've prayed for breakthrough. For mass conversions. For warriors to join the kingdom. And God sends me a commander and his unit. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. He stepped aside. Come in. All of you. We'll figure it out. God will provide. We crammed into that small apartment. 13 men plus Elias. Plus Amir and the others who were already there. It was ridiculous. Uncomfortable. Bodies everywhere. No privacy. No space. It was beautiful. The next 3 months were transformation. Elias trained us. All of us. Morning prayer at 5 a.m. Scripture memorization over breakfast. Theological study until lunch. Testimony practice in the afternoon. Evangelism training in the evening. More prayer before sleep. We learned to pray for hours. Not the ritualistic prayers of Islam, 5 times a day, specific words, specific postures. But conversational prayer. Wrestling prayer. Warfare prayer. We prayed for the men still at the base. For government officials. For persecuted Christians. For breakthrough in our nation. We learned to study Scripture. Not just read it, but dig into it. Context. History. Original languages. How to rightly divide truth. How to defend the faith against objections. How to answer the hard questions about violence in the Old Testament, about the Trinity, about whether Jesus really claimed to be God. We learned to share our stories. Each of us wrote out our testimonies, who we were before Jesus, how we encountered him, who we became after. We practiced telling them. Condensed versions for conversations. Longer versions for gatherings. Always authentic. Always pointing to Jesus, not ourselves. And we learned to fight differently. You were trained to use weapons, Elias said one morning. Rifles. Knives. Explosives. Tools designed to kill. Now we're retraining you. Your weapons are different. But no less powerful. He held up his worn Bible. This is your primary weapon. The Word of God. Sharper than any blade. It cuts through lies. Exposes darkness. Brings life. You master this, you become dangerous to the enemy. He pointed at his knees. This is your tactical position. Prayer. On your knees. Flat on your face. However it looks. This is where battles are won before they're ever fought in the physical realm. You want to see strongholds fall? Pray. Persistently. Specifically. Believing. He tapped his chest. And this is your testimony. Your story. What Jesus did in you. No one can argue with that. They can debate theology. Dispute history. Question doctrine. But they can't deny transformation. A changed life is undeniable evidence. Rashid absorbed it all like a student. He'd gone from commander to disciple overnight. No pride. No resistance. Just hunger to learn. One night, he pulled me aside. I need to tell you something, he said. We were on the roof, the only place to get some space and air. The city sprawled below us. Lights flickering. Life continuing, unaware of the small revolution happening in this building. What is it, sir? Stop calling me sir. We're brothers now. Hard habit to break. He smiled slightly. Then grew serious. I want to apologize. For how I treated you. The interrogation. The threats. The gun to your head. I was trying to control you. Trying to maintain order. Trying to keep you in line through fear. That wasn't leadership. That was tyranny. You didn't know any different. Maybe. But that doesn't excuse it. I hurt you. Terrified you. Nearly killed you. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I gripped his shoulder. I forgive you. Completely. Jesus already did. So do I. His eyes filled. Even now, weeks into faith, crying still came hard for him. Years of conditioning didn't disappear overnight. I don't deserve that, he whispered. None of us do. That's the point. Grace isn't about deserving. It's about love that gives anyway. We sat in silence for a while. Then Rashid spoke again. I've been thinking about our mission. What we do next. We can't just hide here forever. We're warriors. We need a battle. What are you thinking? There are men still at the base. Still in units across the country. Still enslaved to violence and ideology and the lie that strength means dominating others. They need what we found. They need Jesus. He looked at me. I think we go back. Not to the base, that's suicide. But to the city. To the barracks. To the training camps. We find soldiers. We tell them there's another way. We build an underground network of Christian warriors. Men who fight for the kingdom of God instead of earthly kingdoms. That's dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. You taught me that when you walked back onto that base unarmed. I thought about it. Prayed silently. Felt that familiar nudge. The voice that had started this whole journey. Yes. This is the next mission. I'm sending you out. As sheep among wolves. But you're not defenseless. I'm with you. Okay, I said. Let's do it. But we don't go alone. We take teams. We train others. We multiply. Not just the 13 of us, we raise up hundreds. Thousands. An army of former soldiers who've become soldiers of Christ. Rashid's eyes gleamed. Commander mode activating. But redeemed now. Purposed for kingdom work. We'll need structure. Training protocols. Security measures. Communication networks. Safe houses across the region. He was already planning. Strategizing. We'll need funding. Resources. Connections with other underground churches. God will provide, I said. He got us this far. He did. But we still have to work. Still have to plan. Faith without action is dead, right? Elias taught me that. Right. We sat on that roof, two former enemies turned brothers, and planned a revolution. Not with guns. Not with violence. But with the gospel. With truth. With love that wouldn't quit. The raid came on day 93. 3 a.m. Doors kicked in. Flashlights. Shouting. Armed men in tactical gear flooding the apartment. Military police. Intelligence officers. They'd finally tracked us down. We were dragged from sleep. Lined up. Hands zip-tied behind our backs. The apartment was torn apart. Bibles confiscated. Notebooks seized. Everything we'd been studying and planning taken. The lead officer was someone I recognized. Captain Zahir. Intelligence Division. Cold. Efficient. Ruthless. He walked down the line, examining each of us. Commander Rashid, he said, stopping in front of him. Dishonorable discharge wasn't enough? You had to recruit others? Build a network? Spread this disease? Rashid said nothing. Just stared straight ahead. Zahir moved to me. And you? The one who started this. The apostate who came back. Who performed your little miracle. Made men question everything. He leaned close. There are no miracles. Just tricks. Psychological manipulation. And you're going to confess that. On camera. Or we'll make you. I can't confess to a lie, I said calmly. Then you'll die. All of you. Traitors. Apostates. Enemies of the state. We're not enemies, Yusuf spoke up. We're patriots who found truth. We love our country. We're just not willing to kill for it anymore. Zahir backhanded him. Yusuf's head snapped to the side. Blood trickled from his lip. You don't speak unless I give you permission. Elias stepped forward, hands tied but spirit unbroken. You have no authority here. Not real authority. You have guns and fear and titles. But you're still slaves. We've been set free. And nothing you do can change that. Zahir pulled his sidearm. Aimed it at Elias's head. Is that so, old man? Let's test that freedom. I felt the room tense. Felt prayers rising. Felt the supernatural presence that had become familiar over these months. Shoot if you want, Elias said quietly. But know this, every one of us in this room has already died. Died to self. To pride. To fear. You can kill our bodies. But you can't touch our souls. Jesus has us. Forever. And that's a freedom you'll never understand. Zahir's hand trembled slightly. He lowered the gun. Take them, he ordered his men. All of them. Different locations. Separate interrogations. We break them individually. Find out who else is involved. Then we eliminate this movement before it spreads further. They dragged us out. Split us up. Threw us into separate vehicles. The last thing I saw before the hood went over my head was Rashid's face. Calm. Resolved. Mouthing two words. Trust him. The vehicle drove. I had no idea where. No idea what was coming. But I felt that peace. That impossible peace. Jesus had brought us this far. Through cells and bullets and raids. He wouldn't abandon us now. Whatever came next, torture, prison, execution, we'd face it as free men. As warriors for a king who'd already won the war. The hood came off in a concrete room. Different than before. Not a military base. Some kind of government facility. Underground, probably. Soundproofed walls. Single metal chair. Table. The smell of disinfectant trying to cover older smells, blood, fear, sweat. I'd been here before. Not this room specifically. But this type of room. I conducted interrogations in places like this. Knew the psychology. The isolation. The sensory deprivation designed to break people down. But I wasn't the interrogator anymore. Captain Zahir entered. Closed the door. Circled me slowly. You understand the situation, he said. Your commander, former commander Rashid, is in another facility. Your friend Yusuf is in a third. The others are scattered. You'll never see them again unless you cooperate. Give us names. Locations. Everyone involved in this network. Denounce your conversion publicly. And maybe we'll show mercy. I said nothing. Just prayed silently. Jesus, give me words. Give me strength. Let me be your witness even here. Nothing to say? Zahir pulled out a file. Opened it. We've been watching you for months. The safe house. The training. The plans to infiltrate military units with Christian propaganda. You think we didn't know? We have informants everywhere. My heart sank. Informants. Someone had betrayed us. We let you operate, Zahir continued, because we wanted to see how far this would spread. How many would be infected? Now we know. Now we can cut it out. Surgically. Permanently. He leaned on the table. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be tried. Publicly. For apostasy, treason, desertion. You'll be given one chance to recant. If you do, life in prison. If you don't, he drew a finger across his throat. Execution. Televised. A warning to anyone else considering this path. When? I asked quietly. 3 days. We need time to arrange the spectacle. Make it educational. He stood. You have 72 hours to decide whether you want to live or die. Choose wisely. The door slammed. Locks turned. I was alone. 3 days in that cell were the longest of my life. No windows. No natural light. No way to tell time except for the single meal they brought once per day. No human contact except the guard who delivered food and collected the tray in silence. Just me and concrete and the choice ahead. Part of me, the survival instinct, the tactical mind trained to find ways out, calculated constantly. Could I recant publicly but keep faith privately? Could I lie to preserve life and continue the mission later? Would God forgive pragmatism if it meant staying alive to help others? But another part, the part that had been transformed over these months, knew the truth. You can't build the kingdom of God on lies. You can't lead others to courage while choosing cowardice yourself. You can't call men to die to themselves if you're not willing to actually die. Jesus hadn't given me a vision of easy faith. Of prosperity and comfort and long life. He'd shown me scars. Told me the cost. Prepared me for this exact moment. I thought about the 11 disciples. 10 of them martyred. Crucified. Beheaded. Stoned. Stabbed. Only John died naturally, and even he was exiled and tortured first. I thought about Stephen, the first martyr. Stoned to death while praying for his killers. I thought about Paul, beheaded in Rome after years of beatings and imprisonment. I thought about millions of Christians across 2,000 years who'd faced the same choice, deny Christ and live, or confess him and die. And almost universally, they chose death. Not because they wanted to die. But because they'd tasted something worth dying for. Someone worth dying for. On the third day, they came for me. The trial was a circus. They'd set up a courtroom in a government building. Packed it with officers, officials, journalists. Cameras everywhere. This would be broadcast. A spectacle. Entertainment and warning combined. I was brought in wearing prison clothes. Hands and feet shackled. Led to a chair in the center of the room. Spotlight on me. Everyone else in shadow. The judge read charges. Apostasy. Desertion. Treason. Conspiracy to undermine military morale. Each one carried death penalty. How do you plead? He asked. Guilty, I said clearly. Of everything except treason. I love my country. I just love Jesus more. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. They brought witnesses. Officers who testified to my desertion. Intelligence agents who detailed the safe house network. And then, Kareem. He walked in wearing his uniform. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Took the stand. Testified that I tried to convert him. That I'd spoken against the military. That I'd claimed Jesus was superior to the prophet. He was the informant. The betrayal cut deep. But I understood it. He was scared. Protecting himself. Choosing survival over truth. I couldn't judge him. I might have done the same before Jesus transformed me. When he finished, I caught his eye. Mouthed 2 words, I forgive. He flinched. Looked away. Left the stand quickly. More testimony. More evidence. The verdict was predetermined. This wasn't about justice. It was theater. Finally, the judge spoke. The court finds you guilty on all charges. However, in the mercy of our nation, you are offered one chance. Publicly renounce your conversion to Christianity. Declare it was psychological breakdown, deception, or coercion. Recommit to Islam. And you will receive life imprisonment instead of death. He leaned forward. Refuse, and you will be executed by firing squad at dawn tomorrow. The choice is yours. Speak. The room went silent. Cameras focused on my face. This was the moment they wanted. The breaking. The recantation. Proof that faith crumbles under real pressure. I looked at those cameras. At the crowd. At the judge. At Kareem, standing in the back, watching. And I spoke. Brothers, I said. My voice echoed in that silent room. I was a soldier. A warrior. Trained to kill without hesitation. I thought that made me strong. I thought violence and dominance and control were power. I was wrong. Answer the question, the judge interrupted. I am answering. You asked me to choose life or death. But you don't understand, I've already chosen life. Real life. Eternal life. The kind that doesn't end when my body dies. The kind that Jesus offers to everyone who calls on his name. I stood, chains rattling. I won't renounce Jesus Christ. I can't. Not because I'm stubborn or proud. But because he's true. He's real. He's alive. And he's the only hope for any of us, Muslim, Christian, atheist, soldier, civilian. He's the only one who can set us free from the slavery of trying to earn our worth, trying to prove our strength, trying to control outcomes we were never meant to control. My voice grew stronger. You think I'm afraid of death? I'm not. Death has no power over me. Jesus defeated it 2,000 years ago. He walked out of a grave. He conquered hell. He offers that same resurrection life to everyone. Including you. I pointed at the judge. At the officers. At the cameras. You can kill my body. You can't touch my soul. You can silence my voice. You can't stop the truth. Because truth doesn't depend on me. It depends on him. And he's not going anywhere. He's here. Right now. In this room. Offering every single person watching this broadcast the same choice he offered me, surrender. Trust me. Follow me. And I'll give you peace that doesn't make sense. Purpose that doesn't fade. Love that won't quit. Life that doesn't end. The judge slammed his gavel. Enough. You are sentenced to death by firing squad at dawn. May God have mercy on your soul. He already has, I said quietly. That's why I'm not afraid. They took me to a cell to wait out my final night. But I wasn't alone for long. Around midnight, the guard opened the door. Let someone in. Then locked it behind them. Rashid. He looked thinner. Bruised. They'd interrogated him too. But his eyes were clear. Peaceful. They're executing all of us, he said simply. Dawn. Public square. They've decided we're too dangerous to leave alive. Too inspiring. They're making an example. All 13? All 13. Plus Elias. Amir. The others from the safe house. 23 total. He sat on the concrete floor. They're giving us this night together. All of us in one large cell. Last request. Why? Because they think we'll break down. Cry. Beg. Turn on each other. Blame each other for bringing us to this. They have cameras in there. Want to film our despair. I smiled. Then let's give them something else. The large cell was crowded but not chaotic. 23 men. Some I knew well. Others I'd only met briefly. But all of us united by one thing, we'd chosen Jesus, and tomorrow we'd die for him. Yusuf embraced me. Brother. I'm scared. Me too. But also. I'm grateful. I got to know him. Even if just for 3 months. It was worth it. Elias sat in the corner, Bible somehow still in his hands. They'd let him keep it. One final mercy or maybe mockery, what good is a holy book when you're about to die? Gather around, Elias called. We don't have long. Let's spend it well. We formed a circle. Sat close. Some holding hands. Others with hands raised. United. We're about to face the hardest thing any of us will ever face, Elias said. His voice was steady. Strong. No fear. But we're not the first. Millions have gone before us. And millions will come after. We're part of a great cloud of witnesses. Men and women who loved Jesus more than life itself. He opened the Bible. Read from Revelation 12. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. He looked up. That's us. Tomorrow, we overcome. Not by fighting. Not by escaping. but by testifying. By loving Jesus more than our own lives. By showing the world that death has no power over those who belong to Christ. Rashid spoke next. I spent 23 years teaching men to fear death. To avoid it. To dominate others so death wouldn't touch us. But Jesus taught me something different. Death isn't the enemy. It's a doorway. To Him. To eternity. To home. Tomorrow we walk through that door. Together. As brothers. One by one, each man spoke. Shared testimonies. Confessed fears and faith side by side. Prayed for families who'd rejected them. Prayed for the soldiers who'd execute them. Prayed for the officials who'd condemned them. We prayed for Kareem. For forgiveness. For his eyes to be opened before it was too late. We prayed for our nation. For revival. For the gospel to spread even through our deaths. We prayed for the men watching this on camera that they'd see joy in the face of death and wonder how that was possible. Then we worshipped. No instruments. Just voices. Singing hymns. Old songs and new. Songs about Jesus' sacrifice. About His resurrection. About His return. About hope that doesn't fade and love that won't quit. We sang until our voices were hoarse. Until guards came and told us to be quiet. We sang softer then. But didn't stop. As dawn approached, I felt it again. That presence. That peace. Jesus, keeping His promise. I'm with you. Always. Even unto death. And then beyond death. Into life that never ends. Rashid looked at me. Any regrets? I thought about it honestly. My family, I'd never see them again. My mother's face. My siblings. The life I could have had. But then I thought about Jesus. About these brothers. About 3 months of freedom more real than 25 years of slavery. No, I said. No regrets. You? Only that I didn't find Him sooner. That I wasted so many years serving the wrong king. He smiled. But I have Him now. And I'm about to see Him face to face. So no. No regrets. The door opened. It's time, the guard said. We stood. Embraced one final time. Then walked out of that cell together. 23 men. Unarmed. Facing death. But more alive than most people ever get to be. The public square was packed. They'd brought crowds. Made it mandatory for military units to attend. Cameras everywhere. Broadcast live across the nation. We were lined up against a wall. 23 targets. 23 firing squad members across from us. Professional. Efficient. Just following orders. I scanned the crowd. Looking for familiar faces. Saw some. Officers I'd served with. Soldiers I'd trained with. And there, in the back. Kareem. Tears streaming down his face. I mouthed again, I forgive you. Jesus loves you. The commanding officer read our sentence. Asked if we had final words. Rashid spoke for all of us. We die today, he said, voice carrying across the square. But we die free. Free from fear. Free from guilt. Free from the lie that our value comes from power or reputation or violence. We die following Jesus Christ, the only King worth dying for. And we die praying that you'll find what we found. That you'll encounter Him. That you'll discover there's more to life than survival. There's purpose. There's love. There's eternal life. He paused. We forgive you. We pray for you. And we'll see you on the other side if you choose to follow Him. The officer gave the order. Ready. 23 rifles raised. I looked at the sky. Blue. Beautiful. Sunlight breaking over the buildings. Thank you, I prayed silently. For choosing me. For changing me. For these brothers. For this mission. I'm ready. Take me home. Aim. I closed my eyes. Felt peace wash over me. Felt Jesus' presence so tangible I could almost see Him standing among us. Fur. The command was cut off by shouting. My eyes snapped open. Kareem had run into the square. Stood between us and the firing squad. Arms spread wide. Stop, he screamed. You can't do this. They're innocent. They're free. And I. His voice broke. And I want what they have. I believe. I believe in Jesus. If you're going to shoot them, shoot me too. Because I'm one of them now. I choose Jesus. The square erupted into chaos. Officers yelling. Soldiers confused. Cameras capturing everything. The commanding officer tried to restore order. Stand down. You're compromising the execution. But others were moving now. From the crowd. From the military units forced to watch. 1. Then 3. Then 7. Then more. Soldiers stepping forward. Standing with Kareem. Declaring faith. Choosing Jesus even knowing it meant death. 30 men. 50. 100. More. The commanding officer looked panicked. Stand down. All of you. This is treason. But they didn't stand down. They stood with us. And they began to sing. The same hymns we'd sung in the cell. About Jesus' sacrifice. About resurrection. About hope. The firing squad lowered their weapons. Confused. Uncertain. How do you execute 100 people on live television? The officer grabbed his radio. Called for backup. 4 orders. For someone to tell him what to do. But it was too late. The spark had become a fire. And the fire was spreading. I'm writing this 3 years later. We weren't executed that day. The government couldn't risk it, not with cameras rolling and soldiers defecting in real time. They locked us up instead. Months of imprisonment. Interrogations. Threats. But the movement they tried to crush by executing us? It exploded. That broadcast went viral. Spread across the nation. Across the region. Muslims saw men willing to die for Jesus and asked why. What could inspire that kind of courage? That kind of peace in the face of death? They investigated. Found Bibles. Read the Gospels. Encountered Jesus themselves. Underground churches multiplied. Safe houses opened in every major city. Former soldiers, men trained in tactics and leadership and discipline, became pastors, evangelists, church planters. We used our military training to build networks, establish security protocols, protect new believers. Rashid leads the largest underground network now. 500 churches. Thousands of believers. He's still a commander, just for a different army. Yusuf runs a safe house that's helped over 1,000 people escape persecution and find asylum. Kareem, brother Kareem, who betrayed us and then redeemed himself, he goes back into military bases. Shares his story. Leads soldiers to Jesus right under the government's nose. Elias is still training disciples. He's 73 now. Still fierce. Still on fire. And me? I travel. Tell my story. Everywhere I can. Military units. Universities. Villages. Cities. Anywhere men are enslaved to violence, pride, honor systems that crush them, I go there. I tell them about Jesus. About a king who redefines strength. About freedom that costs everything and gives even more. I've led hundreds to Christ. Former soldiers. Gang members. Prisoners. Men who thought they were too far gone, too broken, too violent to be saved. I tell them what Jesus told me: I chose you. Before you chose me. You're worth dying for. Come home. Brothers, if you're watching this, if you're hearing my story, listen carefully. To the soldiers out there, you know what it's like to follow orders without questioning. To fight battles someone else designed. To sacrifice everything for a cause you're not sure matters. I was you. I know the weight you carry. The things you've done that haunt you. The men you've killed. The lies you've told yourself to survive. Jesus sees you. He knows. And he's not afraid of your past. He's not disgusted by your violence. He wants to redeem it. To take everything you are, the discipline, the courage, the warrior heart, and repurpose it for his kingdom. You were made for battle. But not the battles you've been fighting. You were made to fight for souls. For freedom. For truth. The enemy isn't flesh and blood. It's spiritual. And you're needed in that war. Come home, brother. Trade your rifle for a Bible. Trade earthly orders for heavenly mission. Trade temporary kingdoms for the eternal one. It will cost you everything. I won't lie about that. You might lose your rank, your reputation, your family's honor. You might face persecution. Prison. Death. But you'll gain freedom. Real freedom. Purpose that doesn't fade. brotherhood that doesn't break. And a king who'll never abandon you, never use you up and discard you, never send you into battles that don't matter. To the fathers watching, your sons need to see what real strength looks like. Not violence. Not domination. Not the cold stoicism that says real men don't cry, don't struggle, don't need help. They need to see a man who's strong enough to surrender. Brave enough to be vulnerable. Warrior enough to fight for his family's souls, not just their physical safety. Lead them to Jesus. Be the spiritual warrior your family needs. Show them that real masculinity looks like Christ, servant leadership, sacrificial love, strength under control, power used to protect the weak instead of dominate them. Don't be like my father. Don't choose honor over your son. Choose Jesus. And watch him redeem your entire bloodline. To the sons whose fathers rejected them, I see you. I am you. The pain of your father's rejection is real. It cuts deep. It makes you question your worth, your identity, your manhood. But hear this, you have a father who will never reject you. Who chose you before the world began. Who says you're his beloved son, and he's well pleased with you, not because of what you do, but because of who you are in him. Your earthly father's rejection doesn't define you. Jesus' acceptance does. Stand firm. Stay faithful. Your courage might be the thing that eventually breaks through your father's heart. It happened with mine 2 years after that execution attempt. My father showed up at a safe house. Broken. Ready. He's a believer now. Leading other fathers to Christ. Don't give up on your family. But don't let their rejection stop you from following Jesus. He's worth it. To every man watching, you were made for more than survival. More than paycheck and status and temporary pleasures that leave you empty. More than performing for people who'll never be satisfied. More than the prison of earning your worth through achievement or violence or control. You were made for Jesus. To know him. To be known by him. To join his mission of setting captives free. Real strength is surrender. Real courage is faith. Real masculinity looks like Christ, the warrior king who could have called down armies but chose the cross instead. Who could have dominated his enemies but prayed for them instead. Who defeated death not by avoiding it, but by walking straight through it. That's your model. That's your king. And he's calling you. Not to an easy life. Not to comfort or prosperity or safety. To a battle. The only battle that matters. For souls. For eternity. For the kingdom of God. Will you answer? Let's pray together. Jesus, I've been fighting the wrong battles. Serving the wrong kingdom. Following the wrong definition of strength. I'm tired. I'm broken. I'm desperate for something real. I believe you're real. I believe you died for me. I believe you rose from the dead and you're alive right now. Forgive me. For violence. For pride. For trying to earn worth through performance. For building my life on lies. I surrender. I can't do this anymore on my own. I need you. I need freedom. I need purpose. I need the kind of love that won't quit. Make me yours. Make me a warrior for your kingdom. Use my strength, redeem it, repurpose it, point it at the real enemy. I'm scared. I don't know what this will cost. But I'm willing. Because you're worth it. I choose you. Today. Now. Forever. In Jesus' name. Amen. Brothers, this is your call to arms. Not to violence. To love. Not to domination. To service. Not to earthly kingdoms. To the Eternal One. The King is calling. The battle is real. The cost is high. But the victory is certain. Will you join us? Will you trade your old life for his mission? Will you become the warrior you were always meant to be? I'm waiting to hear your story. Jesus is waiting to write it. Come home, brother. Come home.